Hi everyone, welcome to week number 4 of the Vlogger in Paradise vlog series, and this week we're reflecting on the happiest poker moment. But this is something that I struggle to narrow down to one single moment, so I'm going to break it down to 4 stories. I'm also going to incorporate some items that remind me about these happy poker times that I've had in the past. So the first one goes back to 2006. Starts with a stamp in the passport at Heathrow Airport. Next up we have £1 chip from the Gutshot Poker Club, and finishes off with a magnet from the Wimbledon Tennis Championships. How are these 3 events connected? Apart from the obvious, Wimbledon is in London, so Heathrow is kind of connected. I remember I went to England in 2006 with my family. My younger brother was there on a school trip, some sort of rugby or cricket sports tour thing. And I was essentially coming along as a renter crowd. In my time off, I obviously travelled a bit around London, went and played poker at the Gutshot Poker Club. Seems like I was actually there at the right time. From my reading, it was only around from 2004 to 2007 before I got in trouble with some legal issues. But played there a few times, and on this one particular occasion, I remember playing £1 November Hold'em. At the time, that was roughly equivalent to $2, $4 Australian, and that was bigger than I'd ever played before. I was only just starting out in poker. And I remember I got involved in a hand, looked down at pocket aces, managed raises, re-raises, got it all in with another player, and they also had pocket aces. Of course, not the result you really want, but happy to take a chop, until the flop rolled out with 3 spades and my opponent had the ace of spades.
Fun fact for you, Lon, pocket aces is a favorite against every other hand in the deck except pocket aces.
Hearts. Hey, I got a free roll. 4% chance.
You can breathe now.
Exactly.
You can breathe.
You can't.
Luckily for me, there were no more spades on the board, and what at the time was the biggest pot of my short-lived poker career turned into a chop instead of a loss, and I left shortly afterwards. And the second part of that story that makes it memorable is what I did after that. I finished up at around 3 in the morning, and then walked to Wimbledon. It was about around a 2.5, 3 hour walk through the streets of London to Wimbledon, where I joined the queue for the day passes. Then my family joined me later on. I'd sort of picked up day passes to go with them. Then I came in, watched the tennis. Turned out to be a horrific day for weather. Only got about an hour or so to play during the day. And I remember I was so tired, I actually fell asleep while the actual tennis was on, which is why I was there. So very, very memorable, very happy, more of a relief happy than anything else, but definitely a very happy, memorable moment. My next happy poker memory comes from 2009 and the Aussie Millions of that year, and in particular the 1100 horse event, which at the time and still is my biggest ever live tournament cash. I ended up finishing 3rd in the event for around 15,000 Aussie dollars. Obviously very happy with the cash, and as the biggest so far at least that I've had in a live tournament. Very happy and memorable in that circumstance. One particularly memorable thing from that tournament was when we were down to 4-handed play, and an Omaha high-low hand that came up. Recall I was under the gun, looked out at ace, ace, 10, 8, no suits, had a big think. I was a short stack at the time and decided to fold. As it turns out, I would have lost both the high and the low to the other 2 players who got involved with what was a pretty sizable pot. And not too long after that, the other shortish stack at the table got involved in a big hand in stud high-low, got scooped and lost most of their chips, and shortly afterwards they finished in 4th place, which meant I jumped up about $5,000 in the pay jump, which for someone who had only been playing for a couple of years and was doing it very much as a recreational thing, more than happy to pick up an extra 5k. So obviously a very happy and memorable moment for my poker career. The third of my happy poker moments occurred at the Commerce Casino in Los Angeles on the first of 2 trips that I made to America that year for poker, and in particular at the LA Poker Classic. Not necessarily because I had a particularly good result. In fact, this was a tournament that I busted out of and did make the money. but it was actually just playing in the Ironman event that they held there. I've talked about it on a previous pre-Vlogger in Paradise vlog. To give you the quick recap, it was memorable for 3 particular reasons. Not only was the best tournament in terms of structure that I played in ever, 1 hour levels, extremely slow rising blinds, just fantastically run, even though it did have no breaks. That was sort of the Ironman component of it. Fantastic tournament put on by a great tournament director, Matt Savage. Second memorable moment, sitting down and playing with Antonio Esfandiari briefly during the tournament. Obviously, at a big event like the LAPC, you got to find a number of poker pros, but to actually sit down and play with one of the most recognised pros in the world was really a great experience. And the third reason why the Ironman event is on my list of happy or memorable poker tournaments is there was one tournament where I actually managed to have aces cracked twice in the same tournament. Second time, obviously, busted from the tournament. But the fact that the structure was that good, that you could lose a hand with aces, build your stack back up, again find yourself in a big pot that would have had me set for a deep run, but obviously didn't go my way. The fact that you're able to do that in such a tournament really goes to show how good the format was, or at least how much it suited my style of play. I could sort of slowly accumulate chips, and if I got involved in a big pot, I had at least the potential to win a big pot and go deep. Fourth of my happiest poker memories came at the 2010 World Series of Poker, where I managed to cash in the $1,500 horse event. So obviously the little cash out slip for the tournament is one of those little items that comes with it, as well as a chip from the Rio and a deuces cracked rubber duck. The particularly memorable moment from this event was actually the dinner break of day number 1. I had only 900 in chips, going back to levels of 400, 800, so just a little bit more than one big bet. And I managed to meet up with 2 of the instructors from Deuces Cracked on the dinner break, Joe Tall and Dan Smack, Joe and Chuck. Had a bit of chat to them over dinner. They just busted out of the event just before dinner. Because I said, look guys, I'll go back and play. I've only got one big bet. I'm sure I'll be back here in a few moments. Went back in to play Raz, 100 ante, looked down at the door cards. I had a low door card. There was only one other low door card out there. When the first player brought it in, I completed the 400. The other opponent with the low door card called. 4th street, I got another low card, and my opponent caught a high card. I bet my last 400, didn't make it obvious that I was all in. The dealer didn't announce anything. So it was just a bet of 400 as far as my opponent was concerned. He'd caught a brick, decided to fold even though I was all in, and skipped that pot. Picked up a few pots shortly after that, and that set me off on obviously the path to finish 23rd in the event ultimately. And to ultimately finish 23rd was a fantastic result as far as I was concerned. Also, when you consider the list of names of people that I cashed ahead of, including Lex Veldhouse, Maria Ho, Benjamin Yu, and a young Tom Dwan, just among some of the pros that cashed, let alone obviously the ones that didn't make the money, puts that extra little stamp of satisfaction on the event. That's going to wrap up vlog number 4. Hopefully you've enjoyed the little journey with me on some of my happiest poker moments. Look forward to the next one when I try and explain why I should be the one going to the Bahamas.